Hey, so welcome to another episode of the Flow Tribe podcast, where I get to speak with the movers, breathers, teachers, healers, and creators of the world. So this episode, I'm speaking with a mover. His name is Adrien Lafortune, and he's a senior trainer at Third Space in London, England, but he's also an entrepreneur, and he recently launched his own brand called AdFit, which is all about providing people with what they need to live a healthy, fitness-based lifestyle. So we talk about his story. We talk about how he got kicked out of Canada and had to start over in London, England, and how he was able to hustle and make it happen. We also talk about his retreat business, which is super unique, very different approach to what I'm used to anyway. I'm not going to give it away, but if you're planning to stay in a super fancy 5-star resort, not going to happen. So this was an amazing conversation. I loved catching up with Adrien. I think we had an absolute blast. I'm pretty sure you will too. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Adrien Lafortune. Let's get started. So Adrien, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. And I'd like to get started. With just having you introduce yourself. So let people know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, well, Adrien from France, originally former track athlete, with love of my life, turned into personal trainer. I also help other trainers grow in their career. And I'm now in London working with an amazing gym, and also have a little side hustle that we all need at the moment, just developing my own brand, fitness brand. That's pretty much it.
Nice. And so you moved around quite a bit. You said you're originally from France. Yeah. You then ended up, you were just telling me before we started recording that you ended up in London to study.
Yeah.
And you made it to Canada for a while, which is where we met originally.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I believe some visa issues maybe made you. Yeah. I think a lot of people have been there. Especially these days, I think it seems like travel and immigration and stuff in so many countries is getting more and more complicated for people.
It seemed very easy for other people, but for me, I could never figure it out. So, I came back to France for a little while. I traveled, went to Israel, Egypt, trying to figure out my other plan, because I didn't have any other plan for the first time in my life. I usually know what I want, and I go get it.
But do you think, I'm just curious, because we haven't really spoken much about this since you left Canada. Montreal specifically, for anybody who's curious. I'm just curious to know, as a trainer, do you feel like you had a skill set that can be used anywhere? Yeah. What I mean by that is, like, I think as a trainer, and I've experienced the same thing having moved around as a Muay Thai teacher, you have this skill set that you can just basically drop into any gym anywhere and be like, yo, this is what I do. I'm good at what I do. Do you have any work? And I think it's one of those skills that you can kind of travel with pretty successfully, right?
100% agree. And it's just like, if you want to help someone, you don't necessarily need a degree, right? You want to help somebody, you help them, right? So as a trainer, that's kind of like what you do. Obviously, there's a lot more knowledge that needs to be acquired, but you can train someone anywhere in the planet, which is good. That kind of saved me, and that's the job I wanted to do for a long time. And I trained to become a trainer, and when I finally got it, I realized I don't want to do anything else. So yeah, tough break with Canada. Everything's starting to going well. We opened our gym, like another big one, in Montreal downtown, and just, I don't know, just click of a button, the press of a button, and everything was gone. So it was kind of tough to be like, so what do I do now? Like, I want to be a trainer. I know that I could do it anywhere, but I felt like we had something going over there, and it's hard to let go.
And I remember we crossed paths there at that gym, our gym, for a little bit. And what I remember about you specifically was, especially with groups, I felt like you really had this way of commanding a group, and you had something that, I don't know. And I think with trainers, there's some that are good at one-on-one, but then when they try to lead a group session, they don't quite have that energy that you need. But I also think some trainers kind of overdo it a little bit on the energy level, and it's just like, yo, chill. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I found that you've always had that. You've always had that nice mix of, you bring a lot of energy to the group, but there's a sense of command. There's a sense of, I know what I'm doing and I'm in control of this session. Where does that come from? I'd be curious. Like, is it something you've always loved, is leading groups into these workouts and bringing people along on this journey? Or is that something
Yeah,
that you kind of
thanks.
developed
Appreciate
over
that.
time? Because that's what I remember about you is you had these most people who trained with you just loved your classes, man. And so where does that come from?
Where does it come from? Well, I was born into sport and training. My dad's a coach, tennis coach. So I probably kind of seen him do that with groups of people,
Yeah.
and 20 years later I become a trainer. How funny
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was training groups in track and field, young kids as well. So when I'm 15, 17 years old, you just do it for fun. You don't realize what you're doing, but you kind of have an impact on those kids, right? And then I think from business as well, I used to manage stores, retail stores.
Okay.
So you had to lead and manage a team of people, but I was never the military guy or the general, like you do
Yeah.
what I tell you to do. I'm more, we all on the level. Everyone has the job to do. I happens to manage the store, and if we want to win, everyone's got to play their part. It's like a team sport, basketball. Everyone's got a position. There's a game plan. There's the leader, and we got to follow along. So with that experience as a manager in retail, so with customer service as well, dealing with all sorts of people, you kind of build that, outgoing personality, and you know how to kind of interact with everyone. And just loving what you do.
Yeah.
Loving what you do. If you love what you do, people will feel that. So I think, yeah, I guess so. It's from that experience that I've seen through the years, managing people, working with people, and just loving what I do. And you have fun with something, and you kind of transfer into people.
Yeah. And what you mentioned about kids, I think the fact that you worked with kids and training kids and something I've done, it's not easy. Kids are a much harder client than adults.
Yes,
And the reason there, especially as a group, is you have to have this perfect blend of discipline. Because if you don't have that, you're going to lose control of that group very, very quickly. But
yes,
at the
sir.
same time, if you're too disciplined and you're too strict and you're too general style, you're also going to lose them because they're not
Yeah,
going to respect you. They're not going to connect with you, right? You're going to be that, oh God, I don't want to go see him again. He's such a bossy,
yeah,
whatever, right? So you find that middle space between those two things. And then that, I think, is the exact type of energy you should be bringing to any group, right? Like even adults, when they train with you, as a trainer, they want someone who's going to be in charge and they're going to feel like, all right, this person really knows what they're doing. But at the same time, they also want to feel like they're connecting with that person. Right. And I feel like that's the mix sometimes that I think some trainers miss out on a bit. If you're too nice and you're not keeping control of the session, people feel that and they feel like, man, this guy's all over the place. But then at
yeah,
the same time, if you're too strict and too general and all that, then yeah, some people might like that, but I think most people just don't connect with it because there's a lack of personality there. So I think that's cool that what you said that about kids because right away I connected. I'm like, yeah, I've been there, and I think that's a really amazing, especially if you did that young. If you were doing that at 16, 17 years old, you're already kind of learning those leadership skills that can really translate to so many things in life. Yeah.
exactly. So you got to make it fun, for kids. You got to keep them focused at
Yeah.
the same time, but they're not gonna focus if it's not interesting to them. And when you're a kid, you just want to play most of the time. So
Yeah.
if you turn a practice into more of a game of a play, they're more likely to stick to the game and focus on that.
Yeah. And so you left Montreal, you had the really good thing going there, and then suddenly you're back, you said in France.
I'm in France. Goes. It happened end of the year, so December time. We're just already planning to go home for Christmas. And I get this notice I have 90 days to pack my stuff and get the hell out of here.
Crazy.
So I thought I could figure it out. And I got a lawyer and just trying to help me out and trying to get another visa before the end of the year. But then it didn't happen. So come November now, shit, I've tried everything. And usually things kind of work out. If I put my mind into it and do what I have to do, it kind of works. But it didn't this time. So I pack all my stuff, figuring like, oh, I'm still a few months in France, apply again, and then I'll be back soon. Go for Christmas, New Year's, then January is my dad's birthday, so we still have this festive thing. I don't really think about the future. I'm enjoying the time off. Like 3-4 months later, I'm still here. The visa didn't happen again. So I'm kind of losing hope right now, and I don't know what to do. It's the first time I'm stuck. Like I have no idea what to do, because that one thing I want to do, I can't do. So I'm just killing time. I figured I'd go to England, where I spent 15 years. All my best friends are there. I go there, and visit gyms, kind of feel the place. Most places I go to, they CrossFit gyms, because that was something that I was into at the time, or performance gym, but it's family owned, right? So if they don't know you, it's tough to get in. So I found Virgin Active. It's like a huge chain over there, and I get in. So I start working there, and then build my little business from there. PTing, group classes, and the group classes is something that really worked for me. Like you mentioned, it's something that people just like my classes. I don't know why. You need to ask them, but they really love my classes. So my classes are getting busier and busier, and I start to realize I can make more money doing group classes than doing PT. So I focus all my energy on that, and then so I end up teaching 20, 40 classes at Virgin in different gyms, different branch all around London, West London, Kensington, Canary Wharf in the city, kind of like everywhere. But I'm only working for Virgin, so I'm exclusive to them at the time. So I decided to quit and become a freelancer. So that would give me options to work for other gym like Equinox, which is, for me, it was the top brand out there. It's luxury. Trainers get paid a lot of money. Let's shoot for that. So I end up getting in, but it's only on cover list at first. You don't get it like your own class. They try you out. This guy is sick, jump in, cover his class. But in my mind, I think I'm better than them. So it's just a little bit shitty. I got to prove again that I'm the guy. But anyways, I found this gym called Third Space. And they have this thing in the window. It really doesn't look like a gym, but it has this thing in the window. It says, exercise stimulates your brain, or something like that, in those lines. And it's really something that I believe. So, it's not just about aesthetics. It's not about, being the best at a particular sport. It also, for your mind, is something that people needs to do, right? So I look into it. I go in. It's very trendy, super cool. Like, I've never seen type of gym. Like, it's not it's a commercial gym, but it's not commercial at the same time. It looks like an art gallery where people train. So I decide to apply. Long story short, I get in and I just grind. They offer me like 2 classes a week, and I build my brand. Each class, I'm gonna go and kill it. Everyone that I'm covering on that day, if you're sick, don't make me come and cover your class, because I'm gonna take over. Like, this is the best class these people have seen. Playlist is on point, energy is on point, the program is crazy. I'm going in. And long story short, they offer me a full-time position. They want me to be a brand ambassador for their gym, blah, blah, blah. And now, 3.5 years later, I work with the master trainer, the head of the strength and conditioning department, to recruit and train other trainers, teaching them the concept of our brands, just education on themes like plyometrics or blah, 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 which is cool. I can go to their classes and give them a little bit of feedback on their class. Not that I'm obviously Jesus and the best at what I do, but I can share my 1-2 cents, because I got here and for a reason.
Okay, so there's a lot there.
Oh man, don't.
Yeah, but the first thing I'm hearing is that you didn't settle right away. And I think that as a trainer, that's something you have to figure out sometimes, is where you're saying you're with this Virgin situation, and it sounds like it's not a bad situation to be in, right?
No.
It's a successful space. They've got locations everywhere. And I'm sure you could have built a decent career as a trainer working for that type of space, right? But it all depends on your mindset. And what I've always known about you also is that you're a creator, right? You're an entrepreneur. You have that itch that you need to scratch, which is, I need to be doing my own thing.
Yes,
and that's something I've always had too, is it's very hard for me to just adopt someone else's model or someone else's way of doing things, because it just feels like, where's my input? Where's my creative flow in this? How do I get to be part of this? Right. And for some trainers, they just love to, hey, this guy's got it figured out. I'm just going to do what they're doing and make a living doing that. And that's amazing for those people. But it sounds to me like you needed more than that, right? You needed to express yourself and make sure that you're creating your own thing. And it sounds like the space that you found now had that nice blend of, we're going to give you a space, but we're also going to allow you to create, right? We're going to give you the opportunities. And what you said about, don't ask me to cover your classes because I'm going to steal it. That's amazing, man. And I think that's the attitude you kind of have to have if you want to succeed in a very competitive industry, right?
Yeah, I mean, because London, I mean, Montreal is great for fitness, but when you come to London, fitness is like you've been playing, I don't know, college basketball, and now you're in the NBA.
Well, dude, I did the same thing. I transitioned from Montreal to New York. And
Right. So
so you get there and you're like, you go into a gym and like, you look at the bios of some of these trainers. These are like Olympic athletes. These are like supermodel versions of trainers. You know what I mean? And it's like, and they've got like education, they've got everything. Like the bios are just unbelievable. And you realize like, whoa, this is another level. Plus it's 10 times more people. So 10 times more gyms. So 10 times more trainers. Right. So it's not just the level of trainer, but it's the amount of people in that industry. So you have to, yeah, you really have to bring it.
yeah, exactly. And with Third Space, at first, when I find out about the gym, I did my research. And like you said, I look up all the trainers, and all the trainers in there, they were elite level trainers, or even trainers that I was following on Instagram because I thought their content was great. You had a European boxing champion or this trainer. And it took me a few months to actually apply because I didn't think I was ready for it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just worked with Virgin, and I was looking at these trainers that been there for 7-10 years, and I couldn't understand it. Like a trainer, you can build your own brand. And my goal is to build my own brand and hopefully one day open up my own gym. So working for someone, it's cool if we have the same goals, but you have to know that this guy right here, I need a little bit more room to grow and do my own thing. So if you can give me that freedom, then we're cool. Otherwise, then I'm going to have to, go somewhere else.
Yeah. And so I'd be curious to know, because how much did your business background help you, at least, I mean, even what you're doing, still doing, and building your brand? Because I think with training, there's the physical part. Obviously, you have to know what you're doing. You have to know the human body. You have to know like the science behind training. That's one part of it. But when it comes to building a brand and building your own thing, then it's no longer about the science side of training. It's very much about the business side of training. And that, I think, is where a lot of trainers are lacking. And I think I even fell into that category for a while, where I kind of ignored the business side of things and thought, hey, I teach good classes. I know a lot about what I'm doing. That should be enough. But then you're met with the fact that, hey, if no one knows I'm here, it doesn't matter how much I know, right? And that's where marketing comes in. That's where all of that comes in. It's like, or if I don't know how to deliver my product, if I don't know how to sell my product, it doesn't matter how good my product is. If I can't sell it, no one's going to use it. No one's going to buy it. So how much of that do you think played into your success as far as building your brand? And if you have any advice or any things that you learned along the way for trainers that are also looking to do the same thing, that'd be really cool to find out about.
Yeah, well, I studied business actually, because originally I wanted to go into studying exercise physiology at university, but then two things: my grades weren't that great at school with biology and science stuff. I wasn't that guy. And then I got injured a lot also with track and field. And so I couldn't apply for that one university I wanted to get into. And so backup plan, I liked business. And I could be working in the business side of things in sports. So I start my business journey like that. And that's how I get to England. I did a BA in international management. And I mean, you learn things, but you might not use it just yet, but it's still in you, right? And growing up, I was always that guy trying to figure something out. I had this little brand of mine. I was working with rappers. I was organizing events like breakdance battles and stuff like that. So it's always been in me. I needed to create something for myself, which is cool at the same time. So when I became a trainer, that was still in me. I couldn't be a trainer that works for this gym. I had to be a trainer with my own brand, with my own gym, and this is what we do. So yeah, advice for people is find your passion. You might want to be a PT, but the world, like this fitness world, is so broad that you can be any kind of PT. So who are you? What do you like to do? I know that I'm not a good PT. I know my stuff, but I prefer doing group classes. And that's where my energy comes out. You know, I could deliver a great PT session, but it doesn't fuel my energy. You know, it's a little bit draining, these one-on-one conversation. Unless you have an amazing goal that pique my interest, and that's cool, but I prefer the group environment, and that's who I am. So I focus on that and just push, 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 push. Hopefully one day that door will open.
Yeah. And so I think what you're saying also is that I think a lot of trainers will balance between PTs and groups. But what you're saying also makes sense to me because PT also there's I think as a business model, it's much more inconsistent. Just because maybe less if you're working, I guess it depends on your situation. But from my experience with PT is that you're kind of a commodity that other people you're part of someone else's schedule, right? And suddenly, like I would wake up one morning where, Monday morning I had 20 hours of PT scheduled. By the end of that week, I've worked maybe 15 of those 20. If I'm lucky, some weeks get worse.
Yeah.
Why? Because if someone has to cancel something, often their gym session's the first thing that's going to go, right? And so, but with a group, there's no way the whole group's going to cancel on you, right? That group session is almost guaranteed to happen. If some people don't show up, fine, but you're almost guaranteed to have that, right? I also think from a branding perspective, I'm thinking that when you have a group of people experiencing your brand versus one person at a time, it's going to build a little bit faster, right? Especially if you're using social media, especially if you're using a lot of the tools that we have available as trainers today to build that brand, you suddenly are being exposed to so many more people per hour than you would be if you were just teaching one-on-ones all the time, right?
Exactly. And that's what drives me because what I started this PT journey is how much impact do you have in people's life?
Yes.
And when I started doing PT is, yes, you build great relationship with individuals, but it's just one person per hour. When you do a class, if you're good, you can get 60, 90 people in an hour, 45 minutes. And these people talk to other people and it's like a chain reaction. So the group stuff, yes, very powerful for branding, very powerful to spread your words. And also people will trust you over time and they will come to you for PT advice. So you can get clients from there.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to start, but you have to have the personality for it. Not every great PT is a great class instructor and vice versa,
Yeah, 100%. And so what other approaches have you used to build your brand? So other than teaching great classes, is there anything extra that you do? I know you're pretty active on social media. I mean, I've been following you for a while now, and you seem to have some good stuff going on there. I'm going to assume also that in the space itself, you probably make efforts to build your brand in a more personal way to kind of make sure that you're available for people and that kind of thing. So what are some ways that you've kind of connected, I guess, sales and marketing, but also how you approach the way that you teach your classes? Is there anything that you do to make sure that people really, when they come into your class, you want people to remember that experience, but you want them to connect with who you are and your brand, right? So what are some ways that you do that?
Yeah, I'm not the sales guy. I'm never going to push a product in your face. Like rarely I would say something at the end of the class. Hey, if you want to buy this, you can find this there and check my Instagram or my YouTube page. I personally don't like that. When I was in business, it's something that I hated. And that's why I left. And that's why I stopped doing what I did to pursue my training career. I hated the hard sell. So I believe that you have to walk your talk and be what you preach, what you're preaching. And from there, everything will just kind of flow. I like to focus what you mentioned, social media, on just putting out good content. You know, we're not chasing likes, we're not chasing the trends. What is going to help? What is going to help someone? Right. So you put it out there, you put your branding on it, obviously. Um, but how can you help people? How cool is your content? I don't like to just post a video. I like to put a little music in it.
Yeah.
I like to make it look good. It's also how you wrap it up, right? But at the end of the day, the content is the content. So focus on that.
Yeah. So
And
it's yeah.
yeah,
So combination of making sure that the content, first of all, is good, because
the
you can
pro
wrap up a rock and it looks good until someone opens the box and they realize, fuck, they just gave me a rock. You know?
exactly. So like it's the
Yeah.
worst experience when you expect something because it looks so good and
Yeah.
appealing, and you actually open up the box and it's like, oh my God, it's
Yeah.
like a
This is
hot
terrible.
girl,
Yeah.
right? She's so hot. Oh my God, you finally get to take her out for dinner, and
Yeah.
that conversation is just rough.
Yeah.
She's not so appealing anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's even like trainers, they look good, blah blah blah. Okay, I'm gonna go and speak to that person, and actually, I don't think he knows what he's talking about. He just
Yeah.
looks good.
Yeah. But
So
then
you
I
have to
think,
have
yeah.
that.
But I
But
think the reverse is also true, which
yeah,
is you have people who really know what they're doing and they're very good at what they do, but they're lacking that little spark when it comes to branding and entrepreneurship, where they're the ones that just end up just never breaking through because
yeah,
they don't have that something special or that thing that, like if you have, especially in a world where it's super competitive and there's so many, like you said, amazing trainers doing amazing work, what makes you different from everyone else? Right. And it's not necessarily how much you know about the human body, because there's just so much you can know about that. Right.
exactly.
And it's not necessarily the types of exercises that you're using in your classes, because at some point there's just so many exercises that we can create. And I
Yeah,
think it's that spark, it's that thing,
yeah,
that personality, that thing that makes you
100%.
little. It could even be like this cool little thing that you add to your videos, like you said, like just a little bit of music, which, oh, that person connected with the music in my video
Yeah,
because, hey, guess what? We shared the same musical tastes, right? Or it's those little things and making that little extra effort that's going to help you kind of make yourself noticed, right? And make yourself that just different enough so that people are like, oh, he's got a little bit of a different vibe going on. I'm going to go check out what he's doing. Does that
yeah,
make
and that's
sense?
something you can't teach because charisma. I work with trainers with thirst space, and with my master trainer. Sometimes we'll just look at trainers, and not in a bad way, but you can help everyone with selecting a good playlist. You can help someone with their programming. You can help someone with how they coach a certain movement, but you can't teach someone personality. That is just, I don't know, it's in you, and people kind of relate to you, and other won't. But it's how relatable are you within that class, and I think that's your brand, your personality. You are your brand. So yeah.
So how does that work? How has that work been different for you to go from being the trainer to now being someone who helps other trainers succeed? I mean, there must be something kind of rewarding about that, to almost feel like, all the work that I put in to build my own brand has been recognized. And now I get to use everything I've learned to help other people succeed. And what you were talking about is, you were saying how much you want to reach as many people as possible. Well, that's one way to do it, right?
Mm,
Is like suddenly you can use your efforts to help other people reach other people, right? So
yeah.
you're kind of like at a whole other level, where if you look at it, from the amount of people you're touching, in a way, you get to be a part of that. So how has that been different for you? What was that transition like?
I mean, I think it's growth and also a little bit of ego because it's cool to say you train trainers. um, but it doesn't put you up there, is again, do you want to help people? How can you help people, and how can you share your 1 2 cent? Um, and I just get rewards from helping people and seeing people grow. That's cool. Like you taught something and they pick it up and now they're using it in their own classes. And then sometimes you see just other people doing it and it's like, oh, is that coming from me? I don't know. Like, there's the little stream and I'm like, that influence you have, like just being around people and being who you are, and people kind of watch. But it's rewarding in the other way around too, because you learn from other people. So one, it keeps me on my A game, because if I'm meant to be that guy, then I have to be that guy. So I got to make sure I'm on point, which is rewarding in that way. But just people come from all sorts of, they have different backgrounds, and you can learn from them too. And just helping other people helps you. It's like a win-win situation.
Yeah.
So I love doing that because I learn from people and I can pick up things from them. So it helps me grow as a trainer as well.
Yeah, the best teacher is perpetually a student, right? Like you never want to lose that student energy, no matter how much you know, no matter how many people you've trained personally. You can always learn from other people. Even the first time, some trainers never worked a day in their life, you can learn from them because you're reminded what it's like to be in that position, right? You remember like, oh, I remember that. And I also remember the energy that I brought to that. I think that as trainers, we can get complacent after a while where, if you've been teaching the same class for 5 years and then it's like, oh man, you just lose it. You lose the motivation, and you have to find ways to constantly be rekindling that fire, or else you're just going to become, like, all right, here we go again. Everybody get ready. Let's do this warm up. You know what I mean? And I've been in those classes. I've been that guy who's, you're like, wow, I really didn't bring it tonight. You know what? You almost feel like apologizing to your group because you know that you just didn't bring it, So that must be cool to be able to do that. And so with everything going on right now, so I want to kind of shift a little bit towards COVID, because I think it's, it is in case you didn't know, there's this thing called COVID going around. Yeah. So as a trainer, I think the fitness industry got hit really hard. I have so many friends and people, whether they own gyms or they're trainers or whatever, like a lot of people had to either pivot or just figure things out very, very quickly. So what are some of the ways that you were affected personally by COVID, and what are ways that you dealt with it for your business?
So thankfully, I'm one of the blessed one. I didn't really feel that much. I happened to work for an amazing company that just, they held me down. I have fitness holiday business though. That's got hit. We had to cancel all the trips. We were meant to go to Martinique. We were meant to go to Cuba. And then we had a little bit of hope for the end of the year. So we just pushed Cuba towards December, but lockdown over there still going. And then England got into a lockdown. France got into a lockdown. And it was just like, all right, this year we're not doing anything. And it's a little bit scary for next year also. We had planned, we had new destination planning. But luckily it's not too much of an investment financially. So we had to just wait basically, and we see what next year brings, and hopefully we can travel again. And then for my personal brand, AD Fit, I'm wearing this top right now. I just got creative. So I used to have that brand in Canada. I don't know if you remember. But then when the Canada situation happened and I got back to France and I got back to England, I just left it. I was focusing on me. I just need to make money. I need to pay my rent. It was just basic needs, and the brand kind of took a hit. But during the lockdown, I had so much time in my hands. So I decided to bring the brand back, and I came up with a new logo, came up with some different products as well. So now I'm doing yoga mats. I have jumping ropes coming up, and this is things that, if you need a home workout, you need home equipments. So I kind of went that route. So you have to adapt, seize the opportunity, see what people want, your people want. I teach lots of flow classes, core movement stuff. So at home, you definitely need a mat. Yeah. So it just made sense. I looked up best mat in the world, something like Lululemon type mat, and I made my own.
And so a couple of things there. One is, and I think that's the entrepreneurial mind at work, is that once something like COVID happens, we're going on lockdown, you won't be able to, life as you know it has stopped, right? And I think there are two types of people. There are the people that are going to panic and realize like, oh no, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then there's people who recognize opportunity. And I think the ones that I've spoken to that really made the most of a bad situation are those that, one, COVID slowed things down to the point where I had more time to focus on the things that I didn't have time to focus on before. right? Where suddenly you were probably too busy building your career and doing all that to worry about your brand and your concept. And then suddenly COVID happens and like, hey, I have all this extra time now. Oh man, I'm going to make the most of this and I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to build this project that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And so that's an opportunity, right?
100.
Yeah, it's absolutely an opportunity. And the other thing I think that in the fitness industry and most trainers that I've spoken to through this podcast all seem to think the same thing is this training at home is not going away.
No, no.
You know, because COVID's not going away. I mean, it's going to change and we're going to probably get back to some sort of normal, but that normal is going to be a new normal. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, if anything, a lot of people have recognized that training at home, you can make that work. You know, like the days of thinking you need a gym membership to stay fit and stay healthy when there's so much great content online right now. Like so many amazing people have been putting out so much great content that guess what? I think some people are going to recognize like, hey, I don't want to go back to a gym. I like training at home. I have an amazing trainer who I work with. I have everything I need because I've invested during COVID to build myself a space at home that I can use.
Yeah.
Right. And so what are your thoughts on that? What are you, and maybe, I don't know, that's the vibe I'm getting. What's your vibe? Like, how are you feeling the future of the industry now that
Oof.
we've gone through something like this? Do you have any ideas on that?
Well, I think the online world definitely like jumped 10 years ahead because, we were all going towards that direction anyway. Oh, I want to build my website. I want to have some classes online. But, until COVID happened, you didn't really work on that. So yeah, definitely future in the home workouts. But then again, it depends where you live. If you have space to work out, great. If you have equipment to work out with, cool. Depends on your goals. Like athletes working out at home, tough. So it all depends on what you want to do. I believe in the gym because of the environment it creates. Working out at home is great, but you need that motivation. All right, you signed up to this platform and it gives you great workouts, but if you want to press pause or start halfway through, you can. But if you go to the gym, you're in the class, it's a little bit harder to sneak out. And with the community that's in the gym, the people, it's a great environment to be in. And I'm a big fan of the gym. I don't do much online stuff because that's not where I need to feel the energy. I need to get in touch with people. I need to play loud music. I need that environment. Even for myself, when I train, I just want to be there with a squat rack, some sled pull, sled push, some treadmills, some skiers. I need the toys. So until I'm a millionaire, I don't have that kind of gym at home. So definitely the business online will grow and there's lots of opportunity to be seized right now. If you already have that following with your Instagram or whatever, do that because it's a great way to connect directly to your people. But I also believe like people need the gym itself, like they need that environment to go there. And this is the space where we work it out, whether physically or mentally. Like sometimes you just want to just let some steam go. So you need the gym. I don't know if that answers your questions, but
No,
that's kind of.
absolutely, 100%. In fact, I remember I reached out to you maybe a year ago because I was helping out some trainers create some online content and potential courses and stuff. And I asked you about that, and you're like, "No, man, it's not my thing." And it was interesting because it was one of the most honest answers I've gotten about that, where most people are like, "Yeah, I'll think about it," or "Yeah, that's a good idea, but maybe not right now." Like everybody kind of plays around the idea of it, but you
Yeah.
were like, "No, man, I don't know. I have no interest in doing online stuff." I was like, okay, this guy really knows what he wants. And I
Yeah.
think that's very respectable, but also it's amazing to know what you want because it just makes things so much easier.
And
Right. Because I think,
it's out of respect for you too as well, because I know you personally, right? And I don't want to, entertain the idea that I might, yeah, why not? I would think about it. And then you think on your side, oh, maybe one day or like next week I'll try again. But in my mind,
yeah,
I'm not going to do it.
yeah.
So I'm going to tell you now, and we're not going to get into an argument or whatever, but.
No, absolutely. No, 100%. And I think also it's important to know what you want. Like I personally love the online concept now. There was a time in my life where I felt like I love being in front of a group. I love teaching. I love going somewhere to that gym, to that studio, to that space. But over the years, I've kind of transitioned to a point where I just love this, especially during COVID. It's been very, useful to have this
Yeah.
concept for me. a way to connect with trainers, but also as far as teaching, I've started, building my own courses, and um, because it just gives me freedom, personal freedom, to spend more time with my family, to live anywhere I want to live. You know what I mean? So there's those two things that
Yeah.
you got to kind of weigh in. Um, but I'm also curious to know more about how you. So how did London handle COVID? And I'm bringing this up because I think that in a lot of places like Montreal, gyms were one of the first things to be shut down, and they're one of the last things to reopen. And there's been a lot of lobbying from gym owners, from studio owners towards the government to do something about that. Because, first of all, gyms are not high profit businesses, right? They're not, like, if people think that people are making millions of dollars owning gyms, they're crazy. I mean, unless you have some massive chain or whatever, but that's not one person usually. That's like, it's a corporation. But there's a lot of small studios and small gym owners that they're struggling hard, right? But most importantly is, what's the role of a space like that in society? And I think it's a very important role. And I think that as a society, and especially at the government level, they're underestimating how important those spaces are for people, especially for mental health.
I agree.
Because I think if your physical health starts to go, especially in a time where, hey, guess what? This virus, it's a physical illness. And the healthier you are, the stronger your immune system is, the better of a chance you have of dealing with that, right? And so I think we're going in the wrong direction. I think that we should be emphasizing the importance of fitness and health, and finding ways to keep gyms open so that people have a place to go to become healthier, so they can be in a better position to fight this virus. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I think we need to reconsider the position of the gym and the PTing in the world. It's not a leisure business. It's a health and wellness business, physical and mental. Like, there's nothing better than just smashing a dead ball on the floor, for your mindset.
Yeah.
So definitely. But we're lucky in London that the gyms are now open. When France, they're still closed until, I think, end of January next year. I think Canada's the same, still closed. So we were lucky, one of the lucky countries that the gym is still open. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy, can't complain.
Yeah, and what you said too is, like, we need to shift towards this mindset of leisure, where thinking that a gym is a place of leisure, like you would go to a casino or you would go to the bar. I think we need to stop thinking that way, and we have to really start thinking like, no, this is the doctor's office. This is the grocery store. These are businesses that are necessary if we want to have a healthy society, right?
Yeah, exactly. Agree. And it's like the fun way of doing things, right? When we talk about teaching kids and making it approachable and fun, well, the gym is like that. You want to go. For you, it feels like leisure, but you're really doing something really important for your life. So yeah, definitely have to have that conversation now and kind of shift the leisure business into more of a health and wellness business. Very important.
And so you also mentioned having a retreat company. And I know that right now it's not the best business model to be dealing with, unfortunately. But where did that idea come from? Because I think that's something that not every trainer I've met wants to do, but those that do, once they've done it, they're like, oh, that was amazing. Because that's a whole other, and for me, having participated in a few of those things, I think it's the isolation that you get with that group of people.
Mm-hmm.
When people come to see you on a weekly basis, you get those people for a small little part of their lives, right? Yeah. But if you take people on this 1 week retreat, all of a sudden that entire week is dedicated to this one thing. And I think that can be transformative for so many people in such a cool way, that it's immersive, right? You're immersing yourself into this experience. Yeah. So where did that idea come from? And what are some of the ways that what does your retreats look like? Like, I'd be curious to know, like, what was the vibe there? And I'm guessing it was a lot of fun, man, but I'd like to learn more about that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, man. I mean, if you can do it, do it. There's two ways of doing it. As a trainer, you can be like invited, you're paid for your service by this company. And most trainers, that's what they do, right? They get paid flights, accommodation, blah, blah. And then you can create your own business. And I'm that type of guy where I don't want to work for anybody. I want to work for myself and put my own people on. But idea came from when I was in Canada, because I couldn't stand the winters. over there. So I was like, I mean, if I'm staying here, I'm gonna figure it out. So my goal was to, if I stayed, um, spend the winter traveling, going to the Caribbean. My family's from Guadeloupe. So it's like a 5-6 hour flight. So great, I could spend more time over there. So I would do the winter in sunshine and then come back to Montreal in the summertime, where you can do lots of stuff in the summer. It's great. So it started from that. But then I got kicked out. So the idea kind of died. And a couple years later, one of my good friend, always same mindset. We connect. Like I would think something here and it will have the same idea in Paris, you know? So we've connected like that, which is great to have as a business partner, because you're just cruising down and we don't need to have long conversation. We know exactly what both wants. So came up with the opportunity to do that in Martinique, because he represents the tourism over there, is fitness model boy, influencer on Instagram, but also very business oriented. So he knows how to leverage that power he has on Instagram. So the idea came like that. Back to life. Let's put it together. What does it take to put a retreat together? We need accommodation. We need this. We need that. Okay, we'll figure it out. And let's just try. If we don't try, we don't know. It started like this. Just the need to travel, the need to be in warmer climates, and also do what you love. And what I find is people work out to get a set goal. I want to look good so I can go on holiday. I want to look good so I can go at this photo shoot, or my wedding is in 3 months. I want to look good for that. And then when this happens, it's gone. They don't train, and then they come back to you at the gym 5 months later. It's, oh, I got fat. Like the holiday messed me up. So all this hard work for nothing. Like, what's going on? So we want to teach people that, yes, you can go away on holiday. You can have a great time and still work on your fitness and your health. Like it's a lifestyle for a reason, you know? So even me, when I go on holiday, I have to train first thing in the morning, and I'll be active throughout the day, you know? So we kind of basically, we are going on holiday and we show you how we do it. With some mindfulness involved, with some cultural stuff involved also. We're both from the Caribbean. And what comes out is that people go to the Caribbean, but they don't really see the Caribbean for what it is. You travel to a country and you stay in a hotel, and that's pretty much your Cuba experience.
Yeah, you go from the beach to the bar to the beach.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, but you could do that. You could be anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So we want you to feel, so like on top of it being like a fitness retreat, it's a holiday where you have fun and you can have a drink and you can smoke a cigar, you can have that cake, and we're gonna have pancakes for breakfast at some point, but not every day, just once, you know. But we want to teach you the culture of the country you're in. You know, it's not a museum. I mean, it's a museum, yeah. It's not a zoo though, you know. You take your picture with the local man and you post that on Instagram. And do you know that person? Like, have you actually had a conversation? Do you know what his life is? So we're going into people's houses. We're doing homestays instead of staying into hotels. And then those families will prepare breakfast and dinners for you, which is the 2 most important meal of the day. And you get to sit down and have a conversation with them. And yeah, it's just like a second family. Last year, first time going to Cuba, and we feel like we're Cuban now. We have this little community, and we were going out into the salsa club and interacting with people, recruiting them the same night, come train with us tomorrow morning. And so we had this, you know, community of local people and people from the UK, people from France. And it's just an amazing experience, you know. And I feel that's where we're different from other people going on retreat, let's say in Bali, that's like very trendy at the moment, Bali or Thailand, you know, but you just stay in this one spot. Your phone is off, it's very strict diet, and there's a benefit in that, great. But we also want to show you that you don't have to be so hard on yourself to live a healthy life. It's all about balance, okay? So how can you go on a retreat, take that away and apply it to your real life? You know, If you go for 10 days, hardcore retreat, no phone, vegan food, when the first thing you're gonna do when you get home is eat a burger or something, you need a break. You can't sustain that for all your life, you know. So we want to show people that there is, you know, a benefit in balance. You need that. And that's what we're trying to do.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that you guys see, because for me, right away, retreat is that idea that I'm going to go off and do something completely different from my everyday life. And like you said, for most people, as transformative as that experience can be, the reintegration is very difficult because it's suddenly you get back to your reality, to a job you don't love, to to all the hustle and all that, and you realize like, oh, I miss my vacation. Oh, I miss those days without my cell phone. Oh, and it becomes a negative thing almost,
Yeah.
right? Is you took this super positive experience that you had, but now it's become a negative because your real life just doesn't compare to that pretend life you got to live for a week or two.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about this idea that we're going to show you how to live. So we're going to take you to this beautiful space, so that this beautiful place, which is going to inspire and motivate you and teach you new things, and you're going to get to experience some sunshine when it's cold as hell back home and all
Oh
those,
yeah.
because that's important too, right? A vacation should feel like a vacation, right?
100%.
But if you can also give people that opportunity to think in that mentality and be like, guess what? This thing we're doing right now, there's an end game. There's an end to this. Now, the
Yeah.
important thing for us is that you have a blast while you're here, but that when you get home, you take some of these lessons and you integrate them back into your real life so that you can improve on your real life, right? But how is that met? Like, I'm curious to know, like, you're asking people to stay in other people's homes. You're asking people to kind of go away from what they're expecting maybe from a retreat. So how do you sell that? Because I'd be curious to know, like, and first of all, I'm sure it's not for everyone, because I know a lot of people would prefer to have the 5-star hotel with the
Oh
open
yeah.
bar and all that. And I'm sure, like, so how do you find your people that want to have that experience, and what's that been like? Because I'm curious, because it's a different model than what most people are selling. So
Yeah.
how did you come up with that, first of all? And second of all, like, how do you get people to kind of embrace this way of doing it?
Yeah. So I mean, we don't want to teach people how to live life. We just show them how we do. This is what we like to do. So when we go away, or if I travel in the country, I like to know the people. It's good to go to the museum, like I said. You know, you take your pictures. Haha, I was there, but did you actually, you know, embrace the culture? Did you go and meet people? Do you know? Can you call someone now that you've been there and have that conversation? You know, you make friends when you travel, and I think it's the best way to know a country is to know its people and and what they do every day. And then the training part of it, I have to train every day. Not necessarily a hardcore sessions. It can be just a yoga or some primal flow or some, like you taught me that, actually the breathing techniques. Um, so it's something that I do on a regular, holiday or not. And also the healthy eating is something that I actually enjoy. You know, you can have a burger once in a while, but 90% of that diet is good food, and good local food is 10 times better than your hotel food. You know, that's the feedback we had from people that been to Cuba once, and they never done what we done. I was in Cuba. I never done that. The food was horrible. And we were just like, wait, where have you been? Because the food is amazing over here. I don't know about you. So the idea is just, all right, we are trainers. We have a group of people that follow us and, you know, believe in our lifestyles and buy into that. And we're going to put a project together and we're going to take you out with us, you know, for some fun. But the thing is, we're not staying in hotels. We're staying at people's houses. We make that clear from the get-go. We had someone that was a little bit shocked, but you know, if you travel to Cuba, it's not Dubai. You know, your expectation has to, you know, be a little bit lower than you thought it was going to be. Um, so yeah, some people really loved it. Others, not so much, and you know, they preferred probably the luxury hotel. We stay there by the pool and do some yoga and take some pictures for the gram and drink some whatever tea in the morning. But that's not us. You know, I don't enjoy that. I want to have fun when I travel. I have fun with my fitness. I have fun with my health. So yeah, most people really loved it. Now we're going to make sure that we emphasize that part, because it was half and half. People had obviously expectation, like you said, you didn't know that's what we were doing. Because when we say retreat, we have this image of what the media bombard us into what a retreat is. So we wanted to make it different. So yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I was doing Muay Thai. There was two types of going to Thailand to do Muay Thai experiences. There was the ones that would book, you know, you were in the fancy hotel room and then you pop into the gym and you do some workouts with the gym and then you go back to your fancy hotel room. And at no point do you live the fighter experience, right? And then the guys that I knew that were serious, they would live the fighter experience. So they were going there and they were sleeping on the dirt, on the mats, in the gym itself with the other fighters. They were eating, you know, the same food every day because that's all the fighters could afford to eat. Like they were living that experience. And the ones who came back from those experiences had so much more to tell. They had learned so much more about what it is to be a Muay Thai fighter in Thailand than the ones who did the fancy hotel version. For them, it was just like, yeah, I went to a hotel and I did some Muay Thai. You know what I mean? So, and I think also what you said about, look, we're not selling you anything. We're just taking you along. We're going on a trip. Do you want to come with us? Because this is how we do, right? And then you lead by example. And I think from a branding perspective and a business perspective, what that does is it really helps you to figure out your model in the sense that we're not going to change for anyone. This is what we do. This is how we want to do it. Some people are going to love it. Guess what? Some people are going to hate it. And so be it, right? But I think that's the easiest way to grow is once you figure out this is our model, now let's make sure people understand what they're getting themselves into, because we don't want, because what you don't want, what you don't want is that person who thinks they're going for one thing and they get something else, right? Yeah, that's the one thing you need to be careful about, right? But that's where people can fall into that trap. I got to sell this thing. I got to get more guests. So I'm going to tell them whatever they want to hear and they'll figure it out when they get there. Maybe not the best way to approach that. Yeah. But I think, you know, especially if you're a positive person, if you're someone who loves what they do, that's going to be obvious when they get there and they see like, hey man, if Adrien's loving this experience, I'm going to give it a try. Right. And then next thing you know, they're like, whoa, that was different, but that was amazing. And then they go home with stories. They go home with a different appreciation for a whole other culture. Right. Which I think is so important. A funny story about Cuba, where my brother many, many years ago, we had a cleaning person who would come clean the office when I worked with him. And he was Cuban. And my brother was just looking for this last minute vacation and he booked some plane tickets to Cuba, but he didn't book a hotel. And then the cleaning person's like, no, you don't need a hotel. You're going to stay with my family. So he shows up to this person's home and it was the guy's brother, I think. And the home was empty. And he's like, but where is everyone? He's like, oh, they're all staying somewhere else because you're our guest. So they gave him the house. And he's like, that's the kind of culture you have there. Like you bring someone into your home, you're not only offering your space, you're like making sure that they have he's like, you don't want my kids around. You know what I mean? So they all went to live somewhere else temporarily so that he could have an amazing experience. But they invited him to all the meals. And he's like, it was just he's like, I felt bad at first, but then I realized like this made them happy. Like it was really amazing for them to welcome me into their home and to prepare food. And like, that's how they lived. For them, it was an honor to have this person in their home and to do that for him. So, you know, and I think until you've experienced that for yourself, you don't realize that, you know,
on the human level.
I love it, man. I didn't know that about your retreats. And I think that's amazing. I think that's and especially today where, you know, the world feels so divided in so many ways. I think it's such a cool way to kind of bring cultures and different ideas together and to give people real experiences versus these pretend experiences that go away as soon as they're over, you know?
Human connections, man. We need this. And more like we're losing this because people are scared or the media tell you this or that. And then so your mindset is already like, you have those preconceived ideas of what they might want from you. But some people are just genuinely nice. You know, some people are welcoming. That's their culture. You know, it's a good thing that they want to welcome you into their family. They want to share food with you. You know, they're not trying to get money out of you necessarily. If they just want to show you the direction or they want to take you to this restaurant, yeah, maybe that's his friend's restaurant, but at the same time, it's just showing you a good part of town, you know? So yeah, on the human level, that trip in Cuba was so rich. And I think that's the best thing I'll take from that trip, aside from obviously the nature over there and the waterfalls and the ocean, amazing. The fitness we did in those places, great. But the human connection we had is like we felt part of the family, we felt part of the town, you know. And they're very poor people.
Yeah.
Like financially, it's tough. Like obviously comparing to our Western standard, right? It's poor, but they're rich in their, I don't know, behaviors towards other people's. It's just, it was mind blowing. I'm Cuban at heart now.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to do. So next trip will be hopefully in Sri Lanka.
Oh, wow.
And so we're aiming for a similar type of adventure. So low-key hotels or homestays with that culture, in the front line, discover a country while being healthy, you know. So yeah, hopefully COVID doesn't mess up 2021 and we can travel again.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But dude, that concept seems so amazing to me. And I think what's cool about that too is I can imagine like if I were to book a trip like that, I'd be doing my homework before I leave. I want to learn more about the culture of this place where I'm going versus just looking at the pictures of the hotel that I'll be staying in. Right?
Yeah,
But that's exactly it. Like it's like, all right, I know I'm going to be staying with locals. I know I'm going to be going on these very cultural experiences. I'm going to read up on that. I want to know, what am I getting myself into? And so I get there almost like ready to educate myself versus like, okay, does this hotel have good food? Does this hotel have a hot shower? Like the things that we usually look at, you know, I think that it transcends that, right? It goes beyond that. And you're really connecting with the people, like you said, you know, and getting locals involved some way in your business and getting them to be part of the workouts and part of the experiences so that the foreigners who come with you get to experience those local experiences, right? And get to leave with a different understanding of the world in some way.
yeah. And that's why we as much as possible, we're trying to work with local businesses as well, and not those big charter business. Obviously, for the airline, you have no choice. But once we're there, even in Martinique, we're trying to do business with local people to support, you know,
Yeah.
our own people.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
especially now, I think as COVID, hopefully travel gets back to some sort of normal. I think a lot of those countries where tourism is a huge part of their economy, it's going to be very important for them that people like you and whoever um, do that, right? Support the local economy and really help the people who rely on those tourist dollars to live. You know, like most of those small islands, that's a huge part of their economy. And a lot of those local people, that's how they live, right? They work in hotels, they work in restaurants, that's their livelihood. And you take all that tourism away, well, they're going to struggle for sure, like everyone else is right now. So
mm-hmm.
I think that's amazing, bro. I didn't know that was part of your business model with your retreats, but hopefully I get to
Yeah,
attend one of those someday too, because I would love that.
definitely. Man. It all depends on the destination. Like, we want to come to Canada as well.
Yeah.
Um, well, the homestay option might be a little bit different in Canada. I don't know if that's the thing, but we might find like a hotel or something over there, but we still want to connect with the local community, you know.
Well, I
So
remember I dabbled in the idea in Costa Rica while I was living there, and I did some research. And one thing that would also worked out really well is a lot of people put their large homes up for rent for like Airbnb. So you could bring a group of 10 people in one house. So you get
yeah,
this huge like kind of villa. And then what's cool about that is you're not isolated. You're in a community, but we're
yeah,
all staying in this one house together. So when we go out, we're out with everyone else instead of behind some closed gate in some all-inclusive resort. You know what I mean? So I think there's lots of cool ways you can do that. And I think that I'm sure you guys will come up with some cool stuff depending on where you're at and all that.
yeah. Hopefully, you know, we don't know what the world is going to be in next year, but hopefully we can get back to traveling and maybe a different way to travel. But you know, human experience is going to be the same once you're there. So
Yeah, amazing.
yeah, fingers crossed, man.
All right, man. So to wrap this up, why don't we let people know how they can connect with you? Because I know you've been putting out some cool content, and I think you've got some cool stuff going on. You've got your new brand going on again. So Why don't you just let people know how they can connect with you?
Yeah, so Instagram, my personal one, I don't really post much there, but it's Mr. MR AD Fit. And my fitness page where I post most of the content is absolute dedication. Dedication with a zero at the end instead of the O, because I'm cool like that. Um, so that's pretty much it. Instagram handle. Um, just message me, follow, like. I like interactions as well. You know, if it's just social media, right? Some people just hate to look at what you do. I don't really like that. I find it weird. Why'd you follow anyway? Just comment, give a like, share your ideas. I like to connect with people in this way. What do you want to see? And hopefully what I put out is interesting.
Yeah, awesome, man. So I'll make sure to include that in the notes so people can just click on it and go check out your stuff. And Adrien, thank you so much for taking the time today. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to connecting soon.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, my man.